Hello friends, welcome to my channel. In today's video, I've brought to you another very interesting case study of a company which is creating a lot of buzz in the market, which belongs to one of the biggest groups in India, the Tata Group, and the company is Tata Communications. If you're new to the channel, please do subscribe so that you get the notifications of all the new videos which I upload. And if you wish to join our Telegram channel, you can search my name and join our Telegram channel for daily market analysis and updates. So let's start the analysis of Tata Communications. So Tata Communications was started originally as a government company called VSNL, and all of us are quite conversant with this name. In 1986, this was started as a government company, and this was the company which first brought internet into India. Later, government sold this company to the Tata Group, and in 2008, it was renamed. During its journey, the Tata Group has invested more than $1.19 billion to establish a global network of terrestrial as well as subsea fiber cable networks, which is a great advantage of this company, and it's not easy for any company to build such a network in today's time. Originally, the company was a telecommunications service provider, and now it has transformed itself. In fact, it is in a journey of transformation to become a digital ecosystem enabler. Now, what's this? We'll discuss in detail. When we say it is a digital ecosystem enabler, it helps companies to digitally transform their business. It helps them to have a global connectivity network. It helps them to enhance their productivity, efficiency of their processes, helps them to deliver better customer experiences. The companies can do better innovation with the help of Tata Communications technologies. It helps the companies become more flexible and agile, and in terms of security also, Tata Communications provides them a secured network to manage their risks well. As we have discussed, this company has one of the world's largest subsea network which runs into lakhs of kilometers and connects all the continents of the globe and more than 190 countries. And now, in the latest technologies, it is developing a network of Internet of Things, which will eventually have more than 2000 connected communities as well as 400 million people across the globe. Moving towards becoming one of the world leaders in the digital communication space, and it has more than 12,000 employees working with them. Now let's talk about the management of the company. The managing director and CEO is Mr. Amur S. Lakshminarayan, who's famously called as Lakshmi. He has 35 years of experience, in which he has spent a lot of years working with the Tata Group. He has deep understanding of this particular industry. He was the ex-president and CEO of TCS Japan Limited. He is a mechanical engineer from BITS Pilani, and he's an alumnus of London Business School. So academically as well as professionally, he has a great track record. Now let's understand a few milestones of this company. Started off in 2002 when they acquired 20% stake in VSNL India. In 2005-06, they acquired a company called Tyco and Teleglobe to establish their Ethernet network across the globe from North America, Europe to Asia. In 2008, they established the Tata Communications enterprise business. In 2010, they started their managed services business, which relates to outsourcing of enterprise services. In 2014, they launched their cloud enablement services platform, which is called EZO, and in 2017 they started a platform called NetFoundry, which is a SaaS startup, and they also started a couple of other platforms called Move, which is a mobility and Internet of Things platform. And now in the last 3 years, the company is becoming ready for the next phase of growth by developing new technologies and upgrading their present infrastructure. Now let's begin understanding their business with a simple question: why would any company choose to move to cloud? Because cloud provides any infrastructure better performance, better scalability as per the requirement of the company, better security to the data which is stored in the cloud, robustness with next to zero downtime, better user experience for the customers of the company as well as the employees, risk management, and 24/7 support in all 365 days. Now, among the services which Tata Communications provides, one of the service is the company provides secured and connected digital workplace. This means, suppose a company wants to shift to work from home, then Tata Communications deploys the entire platform for their employees to work from home. They establish the connection between the network of the business with the cloud infrastructure, and also provides the employees all the required tools and services for them to comfortably work from home with the same level of accuracy and uptime as they have been working from office. In terms of security, they have solutions which are called zero trust solutions, where the security level is very high. Coming to the digital customer experiences, they help the enterprises provide better experiences to their customers in the form of simplified experiences, security of their customer data, They enable the enterprises to use video as well as virtual collaboration with the customers. They help the enterprises generate more and more digital sales. Now let's discuss a little specifically. The first service which they provide is network solutions. This is being their traditional service, and now under the same thing, they are providing advanced network solutions. One of the platforms which they have developed is called IZO, and there are a lot of variants of this product which the company has developed, and this product is being used by various Fortune 500 companies which are clients of Tata Communications globally. They help the companies to adopt cloud. They provide internet access to companies across the globe. They provide wide area network access to the companies. When people want to access their services remotely, they provide global VPN service to them. They provide private line solutions which are secured for the companies, and the company also establishes data centers to provide service to their customers. One of their clients is Dr. Reddy's, where they deployed the Google Cloud platform. The next service which they provide is Unified Communications as a Service, which is shortly called UCaaS. So in this, they provide voice solutions to their customers. The next line of service which they provide is related to the Internet of Things. In this, they have developed a platform called Move. Under this line of service, the company provides mobile messaging solutions to their clients, global mobile roaming services, Internet of Things connectivity. The next line of service is related to cloud. Now, as we know why companies are moving towards the cloud infrastructure and cloud adoption. So using their platform, which is IZO Cloud Platform, this platform links the network of different businesses with the cloud service providers, and these service providers provide them backup, storage, and communication services. And one of their clients which has adopted the cloud infrastructure is Liberty General Insurance. The next line of service is related to security, where Tata Communications provides very robust network to their clients, which is foolproof, and it also helps their clients to manage their risks and comply with all the regulations related to the security and risks. In their carrier services, they provide voice services like conferencing and call center support. In their content delivery network service, they help their clients to improve their website performances, to remain safe from hacks, and to enable and manage video content on website, apps, etc. Another division of business in Tata Communications is related to media. They work with large number of media companies across the globe in various sectors like gaming, hospitality, sports, leisure, education, news, music, and they help these companies broadcast their content across the globe. In terms of industries, if you see, the company has clients in almost all the industries like automotive, media, healthcare, telecom, retail, you name it, and they are working with clients in different industries. Few of the names of their popular customers, as you see on the screen, are Dabur, Federal Bank, Amway, SpiceJet, HP. So there are a lot of multinational companies which are working with Tata Communications. In terms of geography, they derive 42% of their revenue from India, 10% from APAC countries, 27% from America, 13% from Europe, and 6.3% from MENA region. Now let's understand what are the key trends in the industry in which Tata Communication works. Due to the cloud adoption post-COVID, the industry is experiencing a lot of tailwinds, and globally, if you see the most valued companies these days, most of them, almost 7 out of 10 of them, are platform businesses. The managed services market is expected to grow at a CAGR of close to 11.2% from 2001 to 26. The enterprises who have deployed Internet of Things are able to collect a lot of data of their customers at the enterprise level, and they are able to make better business decisions using that data. And it is expected that more than 90% of the enterprises globally will be adopting hybrid cloud by 2022. The AI, artificial intelligence market, is expected to grow at a CAGR of 17% for the next 5 years. In the telecom industry, if you see, India is the second largest market in the world, which has more than 1.2 billion subscribers. And all this network is growing because of trends like increasing mobile coverage, the increase of use of smartphones in India, the lower tariffs which are given by the telecom companies, accessibility to the broadband internet which India has, and a lot of consumption of video content. The government has also allocated close to 9,000 crores in budget 2021 to develop infrastructure of high-speed optic fiber cable and satellite-based internet. So from the government side also there is support, as well as the industry itself is growing in double digits. Although Tata Communications doesn't have an identical competitor in India, globally it competes with companies like NTT Communications, which is from Japan, Sifi Technologies, Orange Business Services, which is from France, AT&T Network Services, Vodafone Network Services, Lumen, and Verizon Network Services. What are the different competitive strengths or economic moat of Tata Communications? It provides connectivity to almost 4 out of 5 mobile subscribers across the globe. So unknowingly, we are using the service which Tata Communications provides as a mobile user. It connects more than 80% of the world's cloud giants. So it works with almost all cloud service providers across the globe. It has 50 plus companies across the globe, and it is having one of the world's largest subsea fiber cable network, which connects almost 30% of the global internet routes. It has won an award in 2021 for a global network services category. In their media services division, they have more than 300 hotspots across the globe. More than 400 million people are expected to be connected into their network of Internet of Things in India, and it has presently, through its fiber network, connectivity to more than 190 countries across the globe. In terms of their customer base, it works with more than 7,000 customers, and out of the 500 Fortune 500 companies, 300 companies are their clients. So this is the strength of Tata Communications. Now let's talk about the growth outlook of the company in the coming future. They are going to focus on 6 different things for their growth in the coming years. The first one is mobility and the Internet of Things, which is an emerging space. Collaboration within and outside the companies. Connectivity, as they have always been focusing on, they will further improve the technology in this space. Cloud will be one of their major areas of growth. Security also will be there. Voice and Net Foundry. They have been doing inorganic expansions, as recently they acquired close to 58% stake in a company called Oasis Smart SIM Europe. Going further, along with the revenue, the company plans to focus more on the EBITDA margin as well as reducing their debt, as it's a high debt company. And in the recent year, it has reported the highest profit in the last 11 years. So by doing all this, the company wants to focus more on the innovations part as well as invest in the future growth of the company. What are the risks which this company might face? There will be a lot of competition from global players, although the company has some edge over the other companies as it has infrastructure well developed. Cost optimization will be a problem because generally in such services, there's a lot of competition and the customers are offered lower prices. This will create margin pressures for the company, and geographically, since the company is widespread across the globe, there could be geographical risks. A lot of regulations which have to be complied on. As it's a global business, there will be forex risk. The company provides credit to the customers for repayment, so there would be credit risk. The company has very high debt, which is a major risk to this company, which is also a liquidity risk. Company has to upgrade their technologies continuously, or else it will be taken over by its competitors. Data security is a big threat for companies like this, and obviously natural disasters will create a risk. Now coming to the financial analysis, let's start with the quarterly results. The revenue for Q2 FY22 was 4174 crores, which was less than the last year, which was 4400 crores. EBITDA was 1113, which was again less than last year of 1158 crores. Profit after tax increased from 384 crores to 425 crores. In terms of margins, there was slight improvement from 26 to 27% in EBITDA and 8.72 to 10% in profit after tax. So it was kind of a flattish quarter for this company. Now comparing the last 5 years, we don't see much rise in the revenue and there is not much growth seen in the top line. As in FY17, the turnover was close to 17,620 crores and it's almost the same in FY21, which is close to 17,100 crores. In terms of EBITDA, we have seen the profits rise from 2,400 crores in FY17 to 4,261 crores in FY21. So in terms of profitability, the company is doing well. Profit after tax has not been consistent. In FY17, the profit after tax was positive of 1233 crores, but there was an exceptional income in FY17. After that, the company was into losses in the bottom line. But in FY21, they came back to profit of 12,051 crores. In FY21, the company has paid close to 420 crores in interest, which further suppresses the profitability of the company. Now, if you see the reserves have become negative as the company has not been consistently making profits. The borrowings are substantial. In FY21, they have close to 11,394 crores of debt, which is 43 times the debt equity ratio. So they have a huge debt which the company has to seriously think about phasing out. Otherwise, the company might face serious liquidity risks. The fixed assets have been constant, close to about 11,500 crores of fixed assets in FY21. Trade receivables are close to about 2,600. So the company also has huge trade receivables on their balance sheet. Operating cash flows have been positive, close to 3,180 crores cash flows generated in FY21. But free cash flows have been inconsistent. In FY21, it has generated close to 1,800 crores of free cash flows, but prior years have not been that good. So we have to see whether the consistency in free cash flows is maintained in the future or not. The equity has been consistent. The company is a dividend paying company, close to 1% dividend yield. ROC is close to 18% and we have to see whether this is maintained in the future or not. ROE is not the right figure to track for this company as the company has inconsistent profits and losses sometimes, as well as the debt equity ratio is very high. The auditors of the company is one of the big four firm, which is SR Butley Boy and Company LLP. Now let's talk about the shareholding pattern. In FY21, the government has sold its stake of 26%, which was later acquired partly by the Tata Group, partly by the institutions like DIIs, FIIs, and a little increase in stake by Rakesh Jhunjhunwala himself. The promoters have pledged about 3% of the equity. Now the promoters hold about 58.9% of the equity, public about 10%, DI is about 7.6% and FII is 23.5%. Coming to the valuations part, the last trade price is somewhere around 1300, 52-week high and low is 887 to 1540. The market cap is close to 37,000 crores and the face value is 10. EPS is 440, EPS is 46 rupees, PE is about 28. Book value is only 8 rupees and which makes the PB ratio to 157. Market cap to sales comes to about 2.24. So PE is not the right way to value this company, and neither the book value as of now, because since there are no negligible reserves in the company, the book value of the company is very less. That's why the PB ratio is showing very high. So for the sake of easy valuation, one of the ways of analyzing their valuations would be market cap to sales, which comes to about 2.24, which is not very high. But anyway, the company has to work on the profitability part to analyze and understand its valuations clearly. For someone who likes the business model of the company and who is comfortable with the fundamentals, the stock can take support at two levels close to 1200 and 1040. At these levels, gradually one can start accumulating this stock. So this is about Tata Communications. To summarize, it's a Tata Group company which really matters. As post Mr. Chandrasekaran has taken over, he has brought a lot of change in all the Tata Group companies. The management of the company is well experienced and the company is moving from a telecommunication service provider to a digital ecosystem enabler, which is a in thing, and the sector has a lot of tailwinds coming further. The company has infrastructure advantage which a new company cannot provide. It has clients across the globe. The industry is going to do well and the markets are growing at double digits. But in the past, the company has not delivered consistent growth. When we hear the company's management talk about the future growth, there are no specific guidances available in terms of the growth rate. Debt will be a big concern for this company. Until the debt is controlled, it's going to affect the liquidity of the business as well as the profitability of the business. This will continue to remain a very competitive space, although there will not be another company which will be providing exactly the same services or the entire services which Tata Communications provide, but individually there will be other IT companies which will be providing digital transformation services. There will be other global companies which are network service providers. So in that way, individually the space is going to be very competitive. That's why even though you trust the Tata Group, you have to be very careful while investing in these companies, as the company has high debt and the results of the company has to be closely watched to see whether the company is delivering growth, which was not done in the past by the company. So this is about Tata Communications. I hope you like the video. If you like the video, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. I've tried to bring out both the positives and the negatives of investing in the company by being unbiased. If you want to join our Telegram channel, please do search my name on Telegram and hit the join button. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful day.